Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
5:07, it's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here on this Tuesday morning, the March of the 3rd. It's the 3rd of March. It's 3-3, which always delights me when that happens, Bethany. I'm weird that way. Happens 12 days a year, where the month is the same number as the day.
It's very exciting stuff. Hold on. Okay, I was Googling the Ides of March, but that's not until
that's
the 15th.
That's the 15th. Yeah, that's the 15th day of
All right,
March. The Ides of March. Julius Caesar stabbed. Yeah. William
just trying
Shakespeare.
to plan ahead.
Coming up, it says, speaking of planning ahead, in 6:35, we're going to have the chairman of the Texas Truth PAC, Chris Ekstrom, to give us a preview of today's incredibly influential and consequential primary in Texas for the United States Senate on the Republican side, and a fascinating one on the Democrat side. It's 7:05, Maryland delegate Matt Morgan. 7:35 brings us Adam Gullett, Accuracy in Media, where we have a so-called pro-Palestinian group at Columbia University, just, shedding their outer skin and letting the world know. They are literally putting up posts that say death to America. I appreciate the candor. Let's stop messing around and pretending we're anything but what we are. At 8:05, Pat Harity, County Supervisor in Fairfax. And then at 8:35, we'll speak with, I mentioned this yesterday, Sana Ebrahimi. She is an activist, formerly of the Iranian Islamic Republic. She has quite a story of how she fled that country and has turned around and now is thrilled with the liberation that is at hand. So we'll have that story coming up. It's Larry O'Connor with Bethany Mandel. Bethany, could we just say that this was the end of the snow? Was that it? Was it like the winter's last little gasp that they wanted to put out there?
I mean, your lips to God's ears. You kept on reading the weather yesterday, and I thought that you were a little too ambitious with our Thursday forecast, but it will get warm on Thursday.
Hey, buckle up. Can we talk about 1 week from today, Tuesday of next week? 78 degrees.
Oh, God. That sounds amazing. Oh, well, Wednesday, I'm seeing 81 on Wednesday.
Could we get some cherry blossoms coming, please? Are we ready?
Please, God.
It's time. It's in my mind, and I know it's winter in the Mid-Atlantic and it's unpredictable in March.
This is
but
worse.
The second you've got March on your calendar, that's it. We're done with the snow. So yesterday I thought it was a little churlish, a little. Your kid who talks back too often, and always wants to have the last word, and then you realize that your kid is actually acting like you, and so you're a little bit more tolerant than you should. That's what yesterday was with winter. They were like, oh, yeah, take this. Don't forget, I could do this if I wanted to. Here, take this, as you send me to my room.
Today is the holiday of Purim. It started
last
night.
That's right. A righteous Purim to you and our co-ancestor Esther. What a queen. Yes. When
we were living in New Jersey, we had a blizzard once on Purim. It was like 1.5 feet of snow. And it reminded me of that last night. We were looking out the window, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to go out in this, but we have to.
If it kept going, it would have been quite a bit. It was beautiful snow last night, too. I do like it when it's all fluffy and sort of big flakes, and it didn't feel like a storm. It just felt like God was, shaking the Parmesan cheese on us after he got the hot slice out of the oven.
I'm proud of the local schools for not closing. It turns out they can see a flake and remain open.
Yes. Well, let me tell you something. If they hadn't already used 25 days up until now, that the kids would all be home today. But I say we can officially say winter is done. Today, actually, there will be a little bit of snow here and there mixed with rain. But looking forward, by Thursday, we'll have 72 degrees. By next Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll be pushing 80, and there's no turning back from that. I'm sorry. You get to mid-March, you get into the 70s and 80s, and you're not going to bring snow at me again. If
challenge accepted.
I was about to do one of those really bad radio stunt challenges that you never want to do, because then if it snows again after we hit 70 degrees this week, if it snows, I'll eat or drink something horrendous. And no, I'm not going to do that, because that's exactly what will end up happening. But I think we'll be all right. None of it stuck to the roads, it appears.
No, not that I saw.
And I've
but it was really coming down in the afternoon. It was downright cozy.
I was in D.C. I was right near the Capitol yesterday in the afternoon, and in meeting with a couple of people, and we went to a pub, as you do business in D.C. over a pint now and again, and that's when it all started coming down out the window, and it was a little jarring, actually. I had not dressed or prepared for it, even though I knew there was supposed to be snow.
Yeah, but you read the weather for a living.
I know. I always have a good handle on what the weather is, generally speaking. But it was a little. It sort of shook me to look outside after enjoying what was close to spring-like weather over the weekend. But I think we'll be all right. DC will recover, and DC's got other things on their mind right now. Well, you know what it reminded me of, actually, because you had Pete Hegseth giving his remarks at the Pentagon yesterday. You had Marco Rubio, and we're going to play you some of Marco Rubio's really, really smart reasons. And Marco Rubio's been talking about Iran for 15 years. This is in his DNA. And his remarks yesterday were just so clear and concise and intelligent about America's role in the Middle East and Iran's role in the world, and why this epic fury was a righteous decision that the president made. And you know the scene in Wizard of Oz when Glinda the Good Witch wakes up the team from their poppy-fueled nightmares with a snowfall? When the snow starts falling on them, that's when they wake up. That's what I felt like the snow was. The snow was sort of cleansing Washington, cleansing D.C. from the nonsense and the gaslighting, where you had Democrats who have been beating the drum for action against Iran for 20 years, standing up there saying, this is an illegal action the president has taken. It's like, stop it. Stop it. Can we all just get to... And I felt like it was Glinda the Good Witch's snow cleansing us from that nonsense as Marco Rubio spoke truth to idiots.
If only. This is unfortunately not how the world works. And the Tucker Carlson, the Megyn Kellys will be like, well, I don't understand. Americans died for no reason. Yes, American servicemen and women have died for no reason after many attacks from the Iranian regime over the last 47 years. That's what's going on here.
Yes. I know. I watched some of the clips from Tucker yesterday, and I was utterly confused. Megyn Kelly, I've never hung my hat on her politics necessarily, because I think that they've always been a little unpredictable. Yeah, and I feel like she thinks part of her job is to just be contrarian. And I don't mean this as a criticism. I think a lot of journalists do that. The difference is she hasn't been able to transition to pure opinion, because now when she's contrarian, people think, oh, is that what you believe? And it's like, well, maybe not. It's like, well, but what I don't understand are things like Matt Walsh over at the Daily Wire, who said, you conservatives who are in favor of the strike against Iran, just be honest. You never said anything about this until about a minute and a half ago, and you're only in favor of this because of Trump. And I'm like, dude, how ill-informed can you be? Where have you not been paying attention for the last 30 years? And I guess the answer is yes, they have not been paying attention for the last 30 years.
I would disagree with you, because these are people who comment on the news for a living. It's one thing for my plumber cousin in Arizona to not know the long list of things that have happened over the course of the last 47 years that led us to this point.
And Republicans in this town saying, we got to do something about this.
Right. I will say that I think that the administration can and should do better in explaining why this was an emergency. And I think that Marco Rubio kind of got there yesterday. Yeah. His clips were taken out of context, but he was sort of explaining, how close they were to a point of no return, that they were developing so many long range and short range capabilities, whether they be missiles or drones, that it just got to the point where this was becoming too dangerous a threat to let go any longer.
And they absolutely refused to take that missile capability off the table in all the negotiations, and that was it. And Trump said, have they budged at all on the missiles? Nope. All right, fine. Let's take advantage of the opportunity we've got. All right, so we will play for you much of what Secretary Rubio said yesterday as the morning goes on. And coming up in a moment, we've got some data here about how devastated a certain country on the planet is now due to this Iran strike. Spoiler alert, it's not just Iran. It's China. We'll explain in a moment. First, though, it's 5:15. Yesterday, Bethany, we had the beautiful and talented Daniel Turner from Power of the Future on. I like to call him a shill for big oil.
I was thinking that, and I was like, what was his name? The shill for big oil?
Yeah, it's on his business card. It's fabulous. He revealed to us that although China is obviously an enormous adversary, some would call enemy on the world stage, and they have been able to outmaneuver us on many, many manufacturing issues around the world, as well as natural resources that they've been able to attain if they don't have them within their own territories. They continue to be vexed by oil, and like it or not, oil is still critically important for manufacturing, for industry, for military. They are converting to solar and electric in a huge way over there. They're still using coal, but oil, they got none of it within their boundaries, and they haven't been able to secure a steady oil supply. So what have they done to compensate? Well, they've been dealing with the worst actors on the planet, which, by the way, everybody knows, and yet we do nothing about. We have these sanctions against Iran. We have these sanctions against Venezuela. China violates those sanctions, and no one does anything about it. It's like, what's the point? If China, the second biggest economy on the planet, is going to ignore all of these sanctions, the UN is irrelevant. There's no point to the sanctions. Anyway, I digress. This weekend's hit on Iran ends up being quite devastating to China's manufacturing base. Almost all of Iran's exported oil, according to a study that came out yesterday, were going to China. And half of Venezuela's went to China last year. That makes up 17% of China's overall oil purchases. And you would be foolish to think that factoid was not in the back of the mind of our commander-in-chief when he gave the green light for these strikes. Yes, it's in our interest directly. Yes, it protects our allies in the regions, both Latin America and in the Middle East. Yes, it is righteous and justice has prevailed. But yes, it also is a bank shot harming one of our biggest global adversaries, China. It really does sort of shine a light on exactly the larger global dynamics of this, Bethany.
Yeah, I thought that and if folks want to go back and listen to it, the podcast is up. You can go listen to that conversation. I think it was a really interesting one because it opened my eyes, at least, about how all of this plays internationally and geopolitically. But I think that this, as with everything that President Trump does, this move that we've made in Iran sends a signal to everyone worldwide. Yeah. Because I look, because I have 6 children probably, I look at everything through the lens of parenting. And if there's one child who's bigger than everyone else, who bullies everyone else, and they face no consequences, they're going to turn into a monster. But if they see their sibling disciplined very harshly, and I would that's how I would classify what we've done in Iran, they might ship up because they know that the toll is coming for them next. And so I think that this was a really important move by President Trump, not just, for the sake of Iran, but internationally. But this is a real problem that America has kicked the can down the road. That has been the hallmark of American foreign policy under the Obama administration, and I would count Biden under the Obama administration. Kicking the can down the road consistently, never dealing with the problem at hand, and we're finally starting to pay the piper here. Yeah.
Listen, one thing that can, resolve this quickly is if China gets on board for regime change in Iran. If they rely on that oil from Iran, then they should be utilizing their position at the United Nations to ensure that the government that has brought on these sanctions will be no more, and that only a new and free and responsible player on the world stage takes its place. And then the oil can start flowing again and China will be fine. But until then, China now has to make up 17% of their oil imports, and that ain't going to be easy, and it's certainly not going to be cheap, because one thing about buying all that oil from embargoed nations is that they got it on the cheap. Not anymore. So this is going to impact their economy at a time when they really can't take it. So when everybody says, oh, you can't do this because what signal does it send to China? Trust me, this sends a very big signal to China, right where it counts for them.
I mean, it's the old adage, don't threaten me with a good time. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What will this do to China? Oh, no. What shall we do? This is good. This is good. And
this is all very good.
This is the peace through strength, ideology that is correct, and we have not seen in practice in many years, and I'm here for it.
Yep. The only difference that we've seen since the last time peace through strength was employed is that, for the most part, we had both parties supporting those American international ideals and America's positioning here, no matter what the politics of the president in the White House. Hopefully Democrats will come around a little sooner this time, because right now it's disheartening to see them continue to oppose Trump just because he's Trump. It's 5:24.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It is 5:37 on a busy Tuesday morning here as we continue to monitor the after effects of Operation Epic Fury. And we'll keep you updated as the entire morning goes on. Also, a lot of politics going on in America today in particular, as Texas has a monumental primary in both parties for U.S. Senate. Chris Ekstrom, chairman of the Texas Truth PAC, will join us at 6:35. At 7:05, Maryland delegate Matt Morgan. At 7:35, Adam Gullett, accuracy in media and his battles with Ivy League institutions. At 8:05, Pat Harity, Fairfax County supervisor. And at 8:35, Sana Ebrahimi. She is one of those righteous Persian women who are feeling so liberated today. Speak with her coming up at 8:35. It's Larry O'Connor with a righteous Jewish woman, Bethany Mandel. Good morning, Bethany.
Good morning, Larry O'Connor. Happy Purim to all who celebrate and those who don't, because it's the best holiday.
Amen. It is fun. Purim is always a very fun one. I saw somebody put together the iconic triangular-shaped Purim cookies, which are supposed to be. Do you, in your family, are they making fun of Nathan's hat or his ears?
Haman. They make fun of his hat,
not Nathan,
I believe,
sorry.
or
Thank
his
you.
ear. I don't know. But they are tasteless and dry, and I have never met a hamantasha that I like. So if your entire exposure to Purim is the terrible cookies, I'm sorry. There's more, I promise.
Well, somebody put out on their social media a batch of the cookies, but they were in the shape of B-2 bombers going after.
Yes. I saw that too. You said that to me.
I did. All right, so we had our hot takes. You know, we heard that MAGA was going to be split. I love the people who never understood President Trump's voters and President Trump's base, or derided and made fun of MAGA, or criticized America First policies, are always the first ones to tell you what's going to happen to the MAGA movement or America First policies, and how MAGA is split. This is it. It's over. Well, first, let me start with this. I'll tell you the punchline to the joke first. Journalist Rachel Bade had an exclusive phone call with President Trump yesterday, was asked specifically about criticism from certain social media influencers and podcasters. Here's what he said. Tucker Carlson's criticism, quote, has no impact on me. Megyn Kelly, quote, ought to study her history book a little bit, unquote. And then when asked again about the MAGA movement, he said, I think that MAGA is Trump. MAGA is not the other two, he said, referring to Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson. MAGA wants to see our country thrive and be safe, and MAGA loves what I'm doing, every aspect of it. And most polls suggest that as well. For those of you who are looking at snap polls coming within 24 hours of this military strike, they are literally meaningless. Just hold your breath and wait for a moment. I was told that the Venezuela strike would split MAGA because of criticism from Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson, and it turned out to be, I believe, 97% popular within Republicans and conservatives in Trump's base. We say this all the time, and so this criticism comes. What motivates them, I cannot tell you. It's up for you to speculate. But let's start with Tucker Carlson yesterday, who, well, I'll just let you reach your own conclusions. Here's cut one.
It really, really hurts these countries. And Israel wanted to hurt these countries. That's the point. Wanted to hurt these countries. Wanted to sow chaos and disorder because they are rivals of Israel. So it's probably hasn't been reported, but it's a fact that last night in Qatar and Saudi Arabia, authorities arrested Mossad agents planning on committing bombings in those countries. Now, that's weird. That doesn't make any sense. Why would the Israelis be committing bombings in two Gulf countries which are also being attacked by Iran? Aren't they on the same side? No. Israel wants to hurt Iran and Qatar and UAE and Saudi and Bahrain and Oman and Kuwait.
Well, probably Iran and Qatar. I don't know about the rest of them. The key part of that statement was it hasn't been reported, but it's true. We've been searching in vain to try to find what the source of those Mossad agents arrested in Saudi Arabia for planting mobs is, and you might be able to find it faster than I can, but I can't find it, Bethany.
Yeah, it's funny because when you actually talk to people who have been to these countries, you'll find out that there's actually a lot of warm feelings these days between the UAE and Israel.
And Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and Saudi Arabia. I know there's an organization called the Israel on Campus Coalition, and they did Abraham Accord trips to Israel and the UAE. And I have heard from so many of these students who went on these trips that that they felt so welcomed and so intrigued by the way that the Abraham Accords have created a relationship between these two countries that is actually very special. And after all of these bombings started happening with the Iranian drones into the UAE, they asked for and received assistance from the Israeli government to help protect themselves, a la the Iron Dome, a la the air defenses, because they didn't have it adequately, and Israel has it in spades. And so they said, can you send your help? And Israel said, yes, friend, no problem. We're right there.
That's what allies do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I've known Tucker Carlson for a while. I wouldn't say we're dear friends, but we are. I've shared a Thanksgiving meal at his family home when I first came to D.C., and I will always, remember that generosity. Tucker Carlson has decades and decades of his opinion and his political positions and cultural positions on the record. That's what flummoxes so many people about Tucker Carlson circa 2026, is that it is so at odds with Tucker Carlson just 7 years ago, 10 years ago. How many videos do we have to show of Tucker Carlson saying, yes, we should blow Iran off the map? Was he just an agent of the Israeli government when he was saying that? I mean,
obviously he was Mossad.
I don't get it. Which then brings us to Megyn Kelly, who does not have that kind of track record. And even with her time at Fox News, you could, I think, rightly say that Megyn Kelly was sort of positioned as a contrarian-style journalist who would always raise the devil's advocate challenge question to whomever happened to be in the chair across from her. I don't think she has decades and decades of her political opinions reasoned and well thought out, laid out for the world to see. That said, she's now in that world. She is now an opinion journalist. She is no longer reading a teleprompter behind a desk on a cable news network. She is playing an our game on our field where we express our opinions and wear them on our sleeve. Or if you really have some humility, you say, you know what, I'm challenged by this because my heart tells me this, but I also see that, so I'm not sure where I stand. I think the best opinion journalists that do what we do sometimes will say that out loud to their audience.
Yeah.
But to many people, it's too much of a weakness. They only want to show strength. They only want to show fire. So where is Megyn Kelly on the strikes against Iran? We'll play it for you in a moment, knowing full well that it had zero impact on Donald Trump. It's 5:44.
Different. I'm not engaged in morality.
Are you now? Because you told me that the government of Iran is presently trying to assassinate Donald Trump. And that
is undisputed. There's literally nobody who disputes that fact.
Then why don't you support military action right now against Iran?
We are engaged in military action right now.
Then why don't you support offensive military action.
We're bombing the crap out of them. Israel is, and we're supporting them. Israel is.
Okay.
So
why shouldn't the U.S. military defend its own president?
That's Tucker Carlson, by the way, engaged in a lively interview with Ted Cruz, senator from Texas. And no, that's not Tucker Carlson from a decade ago making the case for military action against Iran. This was like 8 months ago or 6 months ago. And I guess, again, the argument here is not that he opposed military action against Iran. He opposed the fact that Israel had military action against Iran that we were supporting instead of us doing it ourselves. So really the through line here seems to be that he just doesn't like the Israeli government or the Israeli military, or maybe you could even extrapolate it onto the nation of Israel itself. But see, that's what makes it so hard for people like me who have been watching him for decades to sort of square the circle and understand exactly what he is standing for, because there it sounds like he's making the case for American military strikes against Iran.
Yeah, and it's funny because he bills himself as America first, but he's Israel first. He cares about nothing but Israel. He sees everything through the prism of, is this good for Israel? Then that's bad. Is this bad for Israel? Then it's good. But the problem for Tucker Carlson is that Israel is our greatest ally in the region, and what is good for Israel is also good for America. And so he cannot understand why this attack, why this war in Iran is good for us, because he only sees the world through black and white now. That does it hurt Israel? Then I love it. And he's become a traitor as a result. He has decided to side with the people he used to say were the greatest threat to our country, and he was
That's
right
what's
back
vexing
then.
About it. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, and we were sort of talking off air about like what is driving this, and I don't think it's just money. I mean, I do think there's a lot of money here. Don't get me wrong, but something broke inside him. Something broke inside Megyn Kelly, and I don't totally understand what it is, because we've watched that break with Megyn Kelly happen in real time. She used to have me on her show all the time because she wanted to talk about Israel.
Like up until like 6 months ago. Right.
Yeah,
maybe 9 months ago.
No, more than that. Maybe a year and a half ago, I would say. Maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. Something broke inside of her, and I don't totally understand what it is. They seem to believe that Mark Levin is, on one hand, the most powerful man in America because he can force Donald Trump to go to war, but at the same time, he's an irrelevant boomer who no one listens to.
Right.
And they can do all of those things they can make all of those claims with a straight face, and that I find strange.
It is strange. I also, I think I do write off some of this to media turf wars, especially in the new age of clicks and downloads. And I hate, I've always wanted to take Andrew Breitbart's position on this, is like, don't make me take sides against people who I agree with so often, and who, I know who my problem is. My problem are the people over there on the other side of the fence who are trying to destroy me and silence me forever. I don't want to take sides, but if you're going to put a gun to my head and force me to take sides, I'm sorry. I'm on Team Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro and all of the people who have been standing with me and on the side of these principles and these ideas forever. So here's Megyn Kelly. Here's Megyn Kelly yesterday on her very influential podcast.
Look, there are massive divisions over what we've done here, and people are going to change their minds over the coming days and weeks, one way or the other. But my own feeling is no one should have to die for a foreign country. I don't think those 4 service members died for the United States. I think they died for Iran or for Israel. I think I understand how this helps Iran perfectly well. I get it. I mean, I hope. Long term, we'll see. But they seem rather jubilant.
Yeah, I don't get that. And maybe that's because the first messaging coming out of this was we're liberating the people of Iran. But if you don't see this in America's interests, I don't know what to say to you. And I can't. Megyn Kelly is a very smart person, but maybe the administration needed to make more of an effort to explain that this was directly in America's interests, as they did yesterday with Marco Rubio. And then there was this Matt Walsh, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and he's usually right, but when he's wrong, he insists on staying wrong. He put this out on social media. He said, I can't take the gaslighting. I can't. Conservatives are now running around saying Iran has been waging war on us for 47 years. Okay, then why didn't any of you call for an attack on Iran at any point until now? Why didn't you make a case for Trump ending the war, not starting it until precisely the moment when Trump did it? You and I both know that you're latching onto a talking point you never used until 45 seconds ago. You and I both know that almost every conservative influencer in the business was opposed to war with Iran until just now. Where has he been? Has he just joined the conversation? Seriously?
So this is the embarrassing thing, both Walsh and Megyn Kelly, is that, yes, do I think that the Trump administration needs to make a little bit of a better case about why this was in America's interests in addition to Israel's interests and Iran's interests? Yes, I do. I do think that they need to make that case better. But they don't need to make that case to Megyn Kelly and Matt Walsh, because they're supposed to be the people who pay attention. And they're supposed to be the people who understand history and understand the fact that it can't be over with one bombing campaign in June. These are bad guys who want to kill us, who were very close to developing the ability to do so. And that we cannot abide by that. It's embarrassing. Honestly, it's really cringe-inducing on their parts, and I feel for them because that is shameful as someone who makes their living commenting on politics.
And again, as usual, there's a little nugget of truth in what Matt Walsh was saying there in terms of, as people, I've been doing this for 15, 16 years now. There are a lot of very popular, very influential people who do live off of clicks, who really just sort of came of age in the last 5 years during the MAGA new media storm. And yes, they do basically decide what their worldview is based on whatever comes out of the president's mouth on any given day. And that is a problem. And people should choose those voices wisely. But to suggest that conservatives, as Matt Walsh put it, have never said a thing about Iran or made the case for military action against Iran until just 45 seconds ago is, as most generously as I can put it, ill-informed. Really, who's doing the gaslighting here, Mr. Walsh? It's 5:55.